You're listening to the Radio Wammo Breakfast, only on Kiwi.
Well, let's catch up on politics with Phil Goff, leader of the Labour Party this morning. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Wammo.
Joining us from the steps of Parliament today.
Yep, just sitting in a car outside Parliament. Thought I'd better give you a buzz in case I was late calling into you.
Very nice, and a lovely sunny day.
Oh, it's a great day down in Wellington and a fantastic weekend up in Auckland. Really felt like spring was here for the first time.
It does,
so,
doesn't
it? Yeah, it's good to see you Aucklanders getting out and around and enjoying life.
Yes, well, I wonder if it's going to be the day that John Key's going to call you into his office, like the principal. Apparently you are looking for a face-to-face meeting with him because National formally reached out to Labour over the emissions trading scheme last week with a letter from Climate Change Minister Nick Smith, but you want more than that, Phil.
Well, we'll resume the discussions this week, but ultimately, if there is to be an agreement, it'll be an agreement worked through and signed at the top level. In the meantime, some of the nuts and bolts stuff will be done between Charles Chauvel on our side and Nick Smith. We want to see a deal. It's really important that New Zealand has an emissions trading scheme that is effective, that has integrity, that preserves our branding as a country, clean, green, 100% pure. You can't go out and sell your country to the tourist industry and to the people that buy our food and beverage unless you walk the talk. So New Zealand has to pull its weight in the world. It needs to go to the Copenhagen conference in December with an emissions trading scheme that gives it negotiating credibility. It needs to give certainty to business so that they know what the rules are going to be. And most importantly, it needs to give certainty to the forestry industry because planting forests as carbon sinks will be the most effective way in which we can meet our requirements to reduce carbon emissions or to store the carbon through carbon sinks.
So this really is a very important time right now, isn't it? If we don't get this emissions trading scheme right, we could be penalised for many years to come.
Well, it is an important time, and what breaks your heart is that we've just wasted 9 months. It's 9 months since the last election. We have an emissions trading scheme in place, but we've done nothing to implement that. We haven't done the hard yards to put the thing in place, all because the ACT Party said it was a condition of their support for National that they hold this review, a review that at the beginning was going to actually even question whether global warming was a factor. Well, fortunately, the National Party hasn't defied science and has acknowledged that it is a real problem, has agreed to meet all the commitments under Kyoto. But the other thing is, unless we get the emitters to start reducing what they're emitting, it has to be paid for, but it'll be the taxpayer that's paying for it rather than those that are causing the pollution.
Do you
so
agree
we really do need to get on.
Yeah, do you agree that really is the key, is to reduce as opposed to offset?
Well, it's a bit of both. We can offset by planting out some of our marginal lands, reforesting areas that should probably never have been cleared in the first place, that are subject to erosion and enable the flooding downstream because the soil is bare. If we can offset, that is a very effective way of doing it. But for a lot of things, methane and nitrous oxide in the agricultural sector, we need the science, we need the technology, we need the incentives to address those problems because that's the core area where we produce global warming gases. That's why we can't have the same scheme as Aussies, because their core problem's brown coal, our core problem's agriculture. Agriculture's got to be part of it.
Yeah. And it's interesting you were talking about New Zealand's image at the moment and how that is possibly it's up to be tarnished with this emissions trading scheme if it's not worked out correctly. But also, now the government is going prospecting on dock land. Now, where does Labour sit with mining in New Zealand?
Well, totally opposed to the sort of thing that Jerry Brownlee seemed to be talking about. Open cast mining for low-quality lignite coal is the last thing that we need in our national park.
Although he hasn't said open cast, he said precision.
Well, that's how lignite coal is extracted. If it's a high-quality coal, you can do things as we did with the Pike River coal mine development, where you absolutely emphasise the maintaining the pristine nature of the environment, and the product that you're mining is sufficiently valuable that will pay for the cost of that. But to go where National seem to be pointing, a wide-scale mining, including open cast in national parks, I don't think any New Zealander wants that, and what a nonsense it would make of our image.
What about the fact that currently overseas companies are already prospecting offshore down the west coast of New Zealand at the moment, looking for iron sands?
Well, I'm not against mining at all. Mining can be a valuable part of your economy, but what you have to do is you've got to balance the economic benefits against the environmental destruction. And we've seen some bad examples of mining in New Zealand in the past. We've seen some examples of where it's been done properly, and maintaining the highest environmental standards, I think, is critically important.
Why does it have to be big overseas companies, though? Apparently the third largest mining company is already in New Zealand prospecting. Why does it have to be overseas companies where some of the profits end up going overseas?
Well, a lot of it's joint venture. You'll see that Todd Petroleum is putting a lot of money into some of that offshore prospecting. But you're talking about prospecting that might cost the best part of $100 million, and it'd be great if we had the investment in New Zealand to do that, so that the dividends and the profits remained in New Zealand. If you don't have that money to invest, then you're obviously going to you've got a choice of either borrowing offshore or getting offshore investment. Offshore investment also helps you with your technology, etc. But what we've done out of in recent times out of oil exports has been really important. Oil's our biggest export to Australia, which is our biggest export market at the moment, and that's bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars for New Zealand. But investment's another topic. But if you wanted good investment, then you wouldn't have gutted the Kiwi Saver scheme, which was actually providing the investment funds that could have been used for that purpose.
Well, legislation setting up Auckland's new Super City Council is going to be, of course, going through Parliament, and the plan was set last week for the Super City. What did you make of what was released?
Well, we won some important concessions from the government in terms of not having at-large seats, so that people were elected across an electorate of 1.4 million. There were some concessions in regard to the powers and the funding that would be given to the second tier, the local community boards. But it's still far from perfect, and the process itself has been, frankly, a disgrace. Take the issue of where the boundaries should be. That decision was made by government before the Select Committee had even reported. It appears to have been made against the wishes of many of the people that live in Albany and Franklin. The decision on Maori seats, you set up a Select Committee to go around and talk to people on Marae, and then you make the decision that you're not going to have them before you've even analysed the submissions you've received. No wonder people become cynical about that. I think, bottom line for us would have been, under the Local Government Act, on a major change, ratepayers are entitled to be polled on whether they want that change to go ahead. The first thing the national government did was to pass a law under urgency without going to a select committee that took away the right of Aucklanders under the Local Government Act to decide by referendum whether this was the model they preferred. As a result, there is no mandate and there is no sense of ownership over the new structure by the average Aucklander.
Phil Goff, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Wammo. Good to talk to you.
Leader of the Labour Party, it is Phil Goff. 2 minutes away from 9 now. Here is a track from Sarah Brown. This is called The Best of You.